Hi guys, welcome to Conrad's Conversations, and today's topic is on health and well-being. And with me now, my guest is Anne-Marie. And so you're a well-being consultant and a systematic applied kinesiologist. So could you explain what is kinesiology exactly and what your role is?
Well, the word kinesiology means movement, and what moves the body is muscles. So applied kinesiologist tests different muscles through a physical test, and from the information we gather from that test, by challenging the muscle, we can get various feedback information on imbalances or balance in the body, and then look at how that affects the person's health and well-being. My role as a kinesiologist, but as a well-being consultant, is to advise people on what they need to do to take care of themselves, to get well, to stay well, and then to age well. So that necessarily involves looking at a number of factors of their lifestyle and putting in place certain things to help them achieve that goal.
So what is your overall philosophy on the person's well-being?
Well, I think the word well-being means being able to live a long, healthy, full and happy life. And that's not necessarily a given in this day and age with the stresses that we face.
And people have to take that into account. And
of course.
There's loads of distractions.
So understanding what you need to do, the things you need to put in place to be able to achieve that, and ultimately achieve your full potential. Because we've all got talents that we should be expressing in our life, and if we're held back by health issues or stress, then you're not going to achieve that.
So what are the typical problems you are presented with, and how would you help solve them?
Well, I see a lot of digestive problems with people. I see sleep disorders, I see depression, anxiety issues. I see a lot of weight problems, people who are gaining weight rather than losing too much of it, amongst others, but those are quite common problems, skin problems as well. In terms of dealing with these problems, the number one thing I would always look at is the person's diet, because I do believe strongly that there is a big connection between what we're eating and the way the body reflects that and the health issues that we have. So that's where I would start, and then address the issues of where they're going wrong with that. Secondly, I would look at their work-life balance, their stress, and try and give advice on how to get a better balance. And perhaps their exercise regime, too much, too little, both are as bad as each other. So we need to get that right.
So what do you think the younger generation should keep in mind in terms of their health?
Well, if there's one thing I could say to young people is that you really need to lay good groundwork, and that's the same if you're building anything, whether it's a physical structure, a life, a business. Get the groundwork right and put in place the things you need to do to keep your body working well. Secondly, you only have one body, so you really got to respect it.
And they think maybe a lot of young people think they're invincible, they could take anything.
I think that's right. No one's invincible.
Live life full force.
And the health issues that present at the age of 50 didn't turn up yesterday. They have been accumulating for years and years and years, and maybe decades. And so we managed to get away with it at a younger age because the body has an incredible ability to compensate and to cope when it's under stress.
So they don't really notice it at first.
And you don't
it's
notice
not an
it.
issue at the beginning.
That's right. You may not notice the symptoms, but often there's some kind of little voice. The body's trying to tell you something, and sometimes we ignore those voices before it turns into some kind of health crisis.
So what's your take on the balance between eating for health and eating to achieve a certain look? For example, starving to be extra skinny and consuming an excessive amount of calories just to put on bulk. I mean, it works on both sides of the spectrum.
Well, that's a very short-term approach, and that might achieve a certain look, but again, there is a consequence to all extreme treatment of the body. And what that's doing on an ongoing basis is something that you may not be aware of, and ultimately can lead to ill health. And I think there's a very good saying that the pain of discipline is usually better than the pain of regret. So at a young age, if you put in the discipline required to get a good look over a medium term rather than an extremely short sort of burst to look thin or to bulk up, you're going to be much better off than you would be doing it the other way around.
So generally speaking, is thinness a sign of good health?
Absolutely not. Actually, just the same as fitness is not necessarily a sign of good health either. Just because you can run a marathon does not necessarily mean you're healthy. And again, it's that ongoing cumulative effect of things you're doing wrong on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Thinness might be, in that minute, a look you're aspiring to, but is it making you healthy? And what you don't understand is what's going on inside, so we can't see that. But there's definitely a fact that if you treat your body like a rubbish tin, it's not going to give you a very good result.
A lot of people may think they're doing the right thing, they're making themselves healthier, and it might be the opposite effect.
Yeah, so you need good advice. You need good advice in every aspect of your life.
So would you say that the media has a negative influence on the way that we look?
I think it definitely can have a negative influence on the way that we look. It's well known fact that a lot of the supermodels used in magazines have been airbrushed. There's a tendency, of course, to use thin models rather than realistic size models. Even in the one of the major papers this weekend, I noticed a big article about how to be a good-looking man, bulked up, very muscly, and this was being portrayed as something that most men should aspire to. I don't agree with that. I think that's not realistic. Therefore, we are promoting things that, again, are selling magazines, selling papers. So
yeah, a lot of the time it's like, if you don't look like this, you're not up to par with how a real man or woman should look like.
Yeah, therefore they are promoting things that are hard to achieve and therefore are causing, I think, a lot of stress for the young population today. And, you know, equipping young people with confidence to be themselves and to be strong and be independent, I think, is what's important today, rather than to be guided by a picture in a magazine, which is often totally unrealistic.
So what's your take on the calorie theory?
Well, to be honest, I think the calorie theory has proved to be more harmful than useful. It's a theory, and it works very well in a boiler situation, but it doesn't work in the human body.
A lot of people count calories, right?
Well, they do, but that doesn't tell us what is in that food. It just tells us how much energy is supposed to be in the food. What's important is the food that you eat is digested well, it's processed well, it's used well in the body, and anything that the body doesn't need is eliminated. Therefore, what's important is the quality of the food that you put in, rather than just the energy value. Because the body is so good at conserving energy or just losing energy. Therefore, that calorie theory is just a very, very simplistic approach.
How do you determine the quality exactly?
Well, real food. What nature meant us to eat, what nature provides us to eat in its natural state, is good quality. Is what we're supposed to eat. It's as simple as that.
The more natural, the better.
The more natural, the better. It's very simple.
So is it good to let go of a flawless diet once in a while?
Well, it's something that probably won't hurt you, but it depends on how much of the time you're letting go of that flawless diet. I think, let's say a 90-10 approach might be good, but we're surrounded by temptations, so it's nice to enjoy those from time to time, but it should be an exception rather than the norm. 90% of the time your diet's great, 10% of the time just let go and it won't matter.
I mean, it's holiday times usually, or Christmas time, lots of people like to let go, indulge in all the treats, sweet stuff in life, and
usually they spend weeks trying to catch up on the 2 weeks of...
and then January comes up and people have New Year's resolutions, and I find maybe they want to change something, change their diets, try to eat healthier.
Well, I think that what people should change with a New Year's resolution is to be committed to eating well on a daily basis.
So overall, Anne-Marie, what advice would you give to people who wish to maintain a healthy lifestyle and are interested in looking after themselves more effectively?
Well, the number one thing to get right is your food. make that a priority. Make sure you're eating good quality food, again, that nature meant us to eat. So the saying, you are what you eat, will always be true.
Would you say good food gives you a good mood?
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. It keeps everything working well. So that's where you've got to start. Take the sugar out of your diet, look for the amount of processed food you're eating and try and minimise that, and eat foods that make all your systems work well and feel good. Secondly, I would look at moving. We're designed to move, so do some kind of activity. It doesn't have to be extreme.
And move the house, move where you live.
Well, even just housework is quite helpful because it allows us to move those muscles and keep them working. And again, if you don't use your muscles, you're going to lose the function of them as you get older. So that's very important. Try to manage your stress levels. Don't get bogged down by things that are not important, because I think there's so much stress that people are under these days. One thing I'm very passionate about is please don't smoke. It's so harmful. It's more harmful than anyone can ever really believe. So
it's hard to convince people not to smoke as well. Socially, occasionally.
It's that short-term view of life, but one cigarette will have some, it may not be a major impact, but the continual impact of that on the human body and on the generations to come, I think, are quite significant. Right. Also, make sure that you get plenty of fresh air, get out and about, and don't spend your life just sitting inside in front of your computer. I think that's important. Have good friends around you. But most important, I think, is be smart about the way you live.
I mean, a lot of young people have maybe the theory they live once, so live to the fullest every day. Even you got to do something stupid. You got to live crazy today.
Yes.
Every day.
Well, that's one approach. So, it's not my approach. That's one approach.
So
which is
a lot of it is to do with drinking a lot.
Yeah. Well, again, that's playing Russian roulette with your health.
Right.
You might get away with it, but you may not. And how long do you want that life to be?
Sometimes, I guess, many young people, it's like a competition. Who can drink the most beers, or who has the highest tolerance? And if
yes.
someone
I think we've had a few examples of that very recently of an internet game which has killed 5 people. I mean, that's stupid. It's not being smart. And the people who have a good life, you look back and they've done things well, they've lived well, they've been intelligent about the things that they do, that they eat, and they're not stupid. So we have to put all these things in place to have a long life and a healthy life. And along the way we can have some fun. But there's a few things that I think people need to understand. So I tried to put that all together in a sort of a user manual for people, which if we were born with that, it might have made things a lot easier. But anyway, in a nutshell, those are the things that I'm trying to promote.
And help them go in the right direction.
Go in the right direction and, again, achieve what they should be achieving out of their life and fulfill their potential.
Well, thank you very much for talking with me.
It's a pleasure, Conrad.
Thank you.